So of course, we've got the background supporting NC State University. So both our men and women, such a monumental time for us in our university. So thanks for joining us on this series of webinars. So we call this project or this program the Connections Food Safety Lunch and Learn webinar series. And as a reminder, this webinar series is really part of a larger program that we're launching. As we know, oftentimes we work with entrepreneurs, and the big question is, all right, who do I need to what do I need to know about food safety? But the bigger question sometimes is, who do I need to contact to achieve the answers or to get those answers to our questions? So one of the huge goals of this program is to connect everyone and get everyone sort of on the same page and create stronger networks within North Carolina. So this is indeed a 3-year project in partnership, not only with our collaborators here at NC State University, but we're also proud to be working with NCDA&CS State University as well. So just as a reminder, it consists of not only webinars, but we'll be developing an online food safety repository with lots of resources, fact sheets, templates that will help you implement food safety practices in your own business, and certainly to support those FCS agents that are out there as well that we partner with. So I'm going to kick it over to Kate. We're very excited to be hosting not only Daniel Gaines from the food program today, NCDA&CS, but I am very excited to say that we've added on the meat and poultry inspection program as well onto our series of webinars. So take a look for that at the end of this webinar series. You'll see a schedule that we have, but you'll also, we'll post a registration link as well. So you can hop over to that website and see the upcoming webinars as well. All right, thanks so much for being here, everyone. And I'm gonna hand it over to Kate.
Thank you, Lynette. Good morning, everyone. So just a few logistics that'll help us get through this today. If I can please ask if everyone will stay muted during our presentation. At the end of our presentation, we will have a Q&A session. So at that point, you're welcome to turn on your video, unmute yourself and ask those questions. We also have a Q&A on the Zoom session that Lynette and I will be monitoring and trying to give feedback throughout the presentation if we're able to. If it's a question specifically for Daniel and the food program, we'll go ahead, we'll hold on to that question and we'll moderate that at the end of our session. Also, if you're looking for some additional resources, you will see some QR codes throughout the presentation, sending you to the food program's website, sending you to our registration site. So you can have your phones out and ready for those, but the links will also be posted in the chat for you. So I am very happy to introduce Daniel Gaines. He is the food program administrator over at the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. He oversees the inspection teams as well as the compliance team that regulates quite a few food industries, a massive amount of food industries in North Carolina. And today we are happy to have him to share some information about their program. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead. I'm real quickly going to switch over to his presentation. And Daniel, you are welcome to unmute yourself and go ahead and we can get started.
Thank you, Kate. And I'm just going to briefly come on video this morning. Thank you guys for having me. I'm having some technical difficulties here, so I'm just wanting to show my face so you can put a name on a face, but then I'm going to get off the video as we get into the presentation. Okay, Kate, I see the
Yeah. I'm unfortunately having the same issue you were earlier.
Okay.
Right, we should be good to go.
There we go. There we go. Thank you, Kate. Yeah, we were having a little bit of technical difficulty, so I'll be relying on Kate's expertise to help me through this presentation. So a little bit about our we're the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, and we have our new Steve Troxler facility, Steve Troxler Agriculture Sciences facility, and we're located at 4400 Reedy Creek Road over here in Raleigh. And that's just a shot of our new building. Next slide, please, Kate. So these are some of the items that we regulate. We basically regulate all your packaged food items, such as manufactured foods, not including meat or poultry, seafood, shell eggs, dairy products, and we have a feed division that regulates our pet food. But this particular presentation is going to be on the food section. Next slide, please, Kate. So these are the type of facilities that we regulate. Of course, we regulate home processing, which are domestic kitchens. And then we do the shared use community kitchens and commercial kitchens. This presentation will be basically geared to home processing kitchens. One thing I want to mention that North Carolina does not have a cottage food law. We use our 21 CFR 110 and 117 regulations to inspect home processing domestic kitchens. Next slide, please. So this is sort of like the a flow chart of our Food and Drug Protection Division. We have the home kitchen or commercial food operations. Home kitchens are only low risk foods, shelf stable, and then our commercials are high risk and high risk foods, refrigerated and shelf stable foods. You know, there's two different paths, but the goal for both of those is for a food safety is our main goal. Next slide, please, Kate. Oh, okay. So what this is our landing page for our home processor application. And this can be found at www.nchomeprocessing.com. So what I'm going to do is sort of go through the home processing page and sort of help familiarize you with the things that are on that page. All right. As you see, this is our first page. It talks about starting a home business. It goes through the steps. The very last paragraph is of very importance. It talks about, please note, if the kitchen where you're planning to produce is a separate location from your home, i.e. garage/basement, or in a separate building on your property, then your business will not qualify under the home processing program. It will be considered a commercial business. And so with that being said, if it's considered a commercial business, there are items that you can produce at your commercial business that you would not be able to produce in a home processing setting. Home processing, like I said, is for low risk shelf stable foods. Commercial settings, you can produce other types of foods more than just low risk. Next slide, please, Kate. All right. So here we talk about some of the low risk foods that you can produce in your home kitchen. And these are basically shelf stable foods that do not require refrigeration. You can just leave them on the shelf even after processing. You don't have, even after opening them, you don't have to refrigerate them at any time. So we talk about baked goods that do not require refrigeration. You got your jams and jellies, candies, dried mixes. There's also some liquids, some sauces, basically acid sauces. Got some acid and acidified foods. Acidified foods is something that you can do at home, but it's not part of the home processing program. It's more of our routine processing. And then you can do some freeze-dried fruits and vegetables. All right, next slide, please, Kate. And then here are some of the higher risk items that you can't produce at home. Refrigerator frozen products are the main things. Low acid canned foods like jarred fruits or canned vegetables. low acid canned foods are something that you would actually need a retort to produce. So you would need to be able to produce actually produce those in a facility that would be able to hold retorts. Dairy products, seafood products, bottled waters and juice products, and then some bakery products with cream or cream cheese fillings because they have to be refrigerated, and cheesecakes. Next slide, please, Kate. So sort of gives you a little bit of the difference between low risk and a high risk foods. And like I said, low risk foods generally have a heat treatment and they're shelf stable. High risk foods are eating ready foods that will support the growth of pathogenic bacteria easily and does not require any further heat treatment or cooking. So those are your two categories of low risk and high risk foods. Next slide, please, Kate. So if you go to step 2 on our page, it talks about, pets. So you can't have a pet in the home to be a part of the home processing program. And this is basically in 21 CFR 110 and 21 CFR 117 under the section that talks about pests, and it talks about pests in general, and then it talks about dogs. But home processors are just like manufacturers. Manufacturing firms, they do not allow pets in their firms when they're manufacturing food that they're going to produce and put on shelves for people to buy. So this same regulation applies also to home processors as well. Next slide, please, Kate. So in step 3, you take a look at the regulations that we currently use to inspect home processors by. And we currently use the 21 CFR 110s, which they're also 21 CFR 117s, subpart B, are basically the same regulations. And here's some of the key requirements that are listed. You talk about the food contact surfaces, smooth and easily cleanable, home free of insects, rodents, and other type pests. Should have thermometers in your refrigerator, freezer. Your light bulbs should be protective or shatterproof bulbs. Your home must have an adequate water source. And what do we mean by adequate water source is if you're on a municipal water, we're going to require that you submit a water bill showing that address that you're on municipal water. And if you're on a well water, then you need to have your well water tested. And it needs to be tested not by a home test kit, but usually the health department. You can call the health department, they'll come out and they'll collect a sample of your well water and they'll send it off for testing. Because what we're looking for in water is we're looking for anaerobic count and coliforms to make sure people are not getting sick from the water. And then just in general, we talk about areas where the processing area must be maintained in a condition that will prevent contamination of food, equipment, and supplies. Those are some of the key requirements, but there are more in-depth requirements in the reg itself. Like I said, it's 21 CFR 110 or 21 CFR 117 subpart B. Next slide, please, Kate. So this actually is a very important step. Step 4 is contact your local planning and zoning department. Sometimes people will call our office and they haven't really checked to see if they can have a home business. We don't regulate if you can have a home business not based upon zoning. So you would have to contact your local zoning office to see if you can have a home business. Some HOAs, homeowner associations, don't allow that as well. So you need to check with them first. So it would be prudent to check with all your sources of planning and zoning and HOAs to make sure you can have a home business before you go down the path of trying to start a home business. All right, next slide. Thanks, Kate. And it looks like I got ahead of myself on step 5 on municipal well water, but I'll just briefly go back over this again. As I said earlier, that we'll ask for a water bill if you're on municipal water. If you're on a private well, then the water must be tested for coliform bacteria. So like I said, testing is, you can also contact your local health department to test that water. And you also, testing is also available through private company as well, but that'll probably cost you, that will cost you. So I suggest using the local health department. Thank you, Kate. So when you talk about developing your business plan, we're looking at a description of, basically what, how, where, when you'll be processing and distributing your products. The business plan is not something as detailed as a marketing plan. We're not looking for, your expected sales growth. We're just looking at the types of products that you're producing, and we need to know all those specific products and the ingredients to make sure all those ingredients are considered GRAS, which is generally recognized as safe. We need to know how you're going to store your equipment, supplies, and ingredients, and so they're going to be stored. Make sure they're stored in a sanitary manner that would prevent any potential for adulteration or contamination. A general flow chart of how you're going to make the product, and also your procedures that are involved, and then how you're going to transport the product. If people are going to come to your house and pick it up, are you going to transport it by a personal vehicle to your locations to distribute a food truck? Are you going to mail it as well? And then a list of potential locations where you plan to sell your product. Once this is pretty, some states don't allow this, but we do allow, once you have a home processing inspection, you can sell that product across interstate lines. You can sell it to another state. You can mail it. You can sell it wholesale. You can sell it retail. We don't put a limit on how you can sell it. We just want to know how you're going to sell it. And then this last line is pretty important. All ingredients must be FDA approved ingredients for food. Some herbs and mushrooms that are commonly found in supplement and drugs, but are not on the FDA's list as an approved food ingredient, would need special permission from FDA to use. So that's a website down there that you can click on and enter that information in there. We do allow all culinary mushrooms that are currently like a list of 15 or 16 culinary mushrooms that are on FDA's list that can be used. Next slide, Kate. So we talk about our food product labels, which is kind of very important. There are really four main things that are involved in a label. That's the name of the product, the name and address of the manufacturer, the quantity of the contents, and the ingredients. Now, you're saying I'm a home processor, and I don't want to put my street address on my label. And you can omit your street address based upon some things, some exemptions for that. If your manufacturer can be found in your directory, and say, for instance, I'm Daniel's Cheesecakes, or not Daniel's Cheesecakes, because that's not a let's say I'm Daniel's Bun Cakes, and I have my business listed in a directory. And when we say a directory, when this was created, that was a phone directory, but now everything is online. But if you can find Daniel's Bun Cakes online somewhere, then you don't have to necessarily put your street address or your product label. So, and those are the requirements for labels if you're going to add a label to a product. Some things that are like consumer on demand, such as birthday cakes, or wedding cakes, somebody's coming to pick one of those up. Of course, we don't require those to be labeled. Also, if you're out somewhere and you're at a flea market and you have made some cookies and that are not self-serve, that you're handing them to people, you probably should have a placard stating what those ingredients are, or you can also offer that information to a customer on demand. Next slide, Kate. Again, it looked like I got ahead of myself, but basically the 4 requirements of the label again. Talk about the common name of it, net contents, the ingredient statement, including allergens, and name and address of manufacturer, pack, or distributor. Now, the ingredient statement, including allergens, is very important because allergens is one of the major reasons for food recalls. Actually, it's the #1 reason for food recalls are allergens. And here are the big 9 allergens. It used to be only 8, but sesame was added of January of last year. So you have your eggs, your milk, your fish, your shellfish, your tree nuts, your peanuts, your wheat, your soybean, and your sesame. And with peanuts and with fish, you have to indicate what type of fish. And this might be the next slide. And with tree nuts, you have to indicate what type of tree nut it is. All right. Thanks, Kate. So this is sort of a diagram of a labeling handbook from FDA that talks about or shows or displays how do I declare allergens on my label. The one on the left is one way to declare them in your actual ingredient panel, where you see they have lecithin, they have parentheses soy, and up there they have whey, they have parentheses milk. So that is one way. And then up there with flour, they have wheat. So that is one way you can do it. And then another way on the right-hand side of the screen, it gives a contain statement. It talks about contains wheat, milk, egg, and soy. So those are the 2 ways that you can declare allergen on your label. Very important to declare allergens, like I said before. Allergens is the #1 reason why products are recalled, and people do have allergic reactions to these certain type of ingredients. And then we talk about hidden allergens. For instance, Worcestershire sauce contains anchovies. And when you're indicating your fish allergen, you need to indicate which fish it is. But some of the things that we've seen before are people were using one type of Worcestershire sauce that didn't contain anchovies. And for some reason, they had to switch to another supplier. And this next supplier has anchovies in it. So it's very important that if you switch suppliers, that you take a look at your ingredients to make sure the ingredients that are still the same. And sometimes your supplier might change their recipe of the ingredients that they make. So it's very important to check each time you make product, check your ingredients from your supplier. So step 8 is where you have a couple ways that you can submit the home processing application to our office for review. One way is you can email it. There's actually on this website a tab that there's a written, or not a written, but where you can type in information on an application and submit it that way, attach it and submit it to the home processing email. Or you can print it out, write everything you want down, and then mail it in to an address in Hillsborough, where one of our home processing inspectors will collect that, review it. And we have 2 home processing inspectors throughout the state. One does one half in the state, one does the other half. And they split these home processing inspections up. They review these home processing applications. And if any questions they might have, they'll reach out to you. So it's very important that you have an email address or some type of method that they can contact you back. So if they have any questions concerning your application. Then once they have reviewed your application, have no questions, they'll set up a time to come out and inspect your home. Right now, with the demand for home processing, it's taken us a little longer since we only have two inspectors to conduct home processing inspections. It takes about 8 to 12 weeks after receiving your application. And that's an approximate time frame. It might be a little less, it might be a little more. depending upon, what you're producing, any issues, what the flow of applications are at the time. So it could take a little longer or a little less. Most likely it's going to take a little longer, as we have seen an increase in home processors, especially since the end of the pandemic. Next slide, Kate. So here's some common questions about home processing. One of them talk about how much does it cost to apply for a home processing inspection. None of our inspections we don't charge for any of our inspections. All our inspections are free. It talks about, another question is, can I can my fruits and vegetables for my home garden? No, you can't. That's like a low acid canned food, and that can only be performed in a commercial setting. What if I wanted to convert another room in my home or use a separate building on my property? Separate building on your property would end up being a commercial space, and another room like your garage or your basement would also be a commercial space. Is there a cost to get an inspection? No, there's no cost for an inspection. Do I have to put my physical address where the product is being manufactured or labeled? I briefly spoke about that earlier. Depending upon if your name can be found in a directory or if your business can be found in a directory, you do not have to state your full address on the label, just your state, city, state, and zip code. How much does it cost to apply for a home processing inspection? Again, no cost. Where can I get help developing a business plan for my product? For the business plan that we require, it's just a basic flow of what your product is going, what products you're making. Now, if you were looking at a marketing plan, you can always reach out to our marketing agency and talk to them. We have a marketing agency that does Got to Be NC, and they help provide businesses with a way to market their goods. Then we have a question about culinary herbs versus medicinal herbs. Culinary herbs, we do use. Medicinal herbs don't allow home processing. And then that last one, it looks like it's cut off. I can't see it. Next slide, Kate.
Real quick, just the last one. Is I realize I'm not permitted to have a home-based business if I have pets in the home. Are there other options that are available to produce my products outside the home?
Oh, yeah, there's the shared use kitchens, commercial kitchens. Now, say for instance, if you don't want to, or have a cost of renting commercial kitchen space, and you have a friend or relative that has a home that they don't have pets, and they will allow you to use their kitchen to bake things. We've done that before in the past as well, so you can do that as well. And so that's my presentation. Thank you. So if anybody has any questions, I guess this is question and answer time, Kate.
Yes, it is time for questions. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to stop recording.